Hello, friends. It is I. So, tomorrow is Father's Day 2017. On a personal note, tomorrow, June 18th, is one of those days that has some sad meaning to it, unfortunately, because it marks the 12th anniversary since my maternal grandfather passed away. If you guys have been following me for a while now, you guys have an idea that the one person who I have expressed to have been one of my father figures was my maternal grandfather. Of course, as a kid, I did not really think of him that way. I didn't think of him as my father. It was only until now that I'm older and I look back in time at the memories I have with him, what he would do for me, the respect that I would have for him. It's one of those things that only when you get older, it sort of just pieces itself. I just want to express my feelings about Father's Day. Continuing on the note of my maternal grandfather, I remember that my mom would get him hardware because he was a carpenter. It was cool to give him new things to sort of renew his inventory as technology advanced, and to also give him newer things. At some point, he became so saturated with hardware that it was like, what else can we get him? But I remember that we also, of course, would cook something really nice for him. He liked a little bit of everything really. I never heard my grandma or my mom saying, oh, your grandfather doesn't like that. I don't have any memories of taking him out to eat anywhere because their hometown was pretty secluded to where there was really nothing to get, and to travel out of their hometown, it was kind of an odyssey from time to time. It was in an island, actually. They really didn't have access to what the rest of us had. I also remember that my mom would get him clothes from time to time. Maybe if we knew of a special occasion coming up, she might get him something, but honestly, I don't remember a lot of clothes being purchased for him. That's really all that I have to say on that part, because unfortunately this all happened when I was very, very, very young. So I really don't have a lot of recollection of it, and I don't ask my mom right now because I want to have as clear of an opinion as I can, like as much as I can generate. For this next part, I consulted my very wise and very handy and very loving and caring boyfriend. He did have the privilege of having a dad who actually cared for him, unlike me. And he did grow up a few years with him and got to see him a lot as a kid, or at least often enough, like on the weekends type of deal. Unlike me, for me, I had zero connection with my father whatsoever. But for now, I just want to discuss Father's Day in general, because there are some things that I just want to put out there. Prior to making this video, I texted my boyfriend and I asked him, I need some help thinking about this. And I told him about how I did not want to research on what other people do for their fathers because I didn't want for my opinion to be contaminated. And at the same time, I wanted feedback from a person who I actually know and whose father I actually met. Although I didn't get to meet him much, my boyfriend's father, I only saw him once in my life. But at any rate, what I liked that my boyfriend said for me was that he pretty much told me what I already knew. I reached out to him because I've never had a father to give anything to. I was blank. I had no idea. I was telling him that a lot of the things that I have seen was getting gifts for a woman. It's so easy. Clothes, purses, perfumes. My boyfriend said a very strong word, which was something practical. His father was a vegetarian, but he would consume seafood and fruits. It's very, very good that you said it like that, because anytime I think about giving someone a gift, I always want to give them something that they can actually use, something practical. My conflict had been, what exactly do people get for their fathers, for their male figures? For my boyfriend, it's like we're not parents, so it's not like I get to see what he could possibly want or need like that. But I've always known that food always does the trick. But that's what everybody else does. I was wondering about anything that fathers may want or need that is very underrated. What makes this also difficult for me to just address in general is the fact that since I understand that this is a business movement, it's kind of hard for me to just get into the character of, oh yeah, this is, Father's Day, this and that. Because I'm one of those people who I think if I want to give something to someone, I don't want for the calendar to be telling me to do it, to be reminding me of doing it, because everybody else is going to do it. And it loses its meaning, its genuine intent. There are times in which I just like to randomly go up to my boyfriend and be like, I want to spoil you with something. And I may take him to lunch, and it doesn't happen as often as I would like to, given that my situation at home is challenging from time to time. I still make no excuse, and whenever I can, I just do it. He does much more for me than I can ever say that I do for him. It's just something that I like to do, I like to give. Even when I'm not in the position to do so, I still do it. A day like tomorrow, if I had a father, I would more than likely try to celebrate it. But I don't like to wait until it's a time in the year to do something for someone. A gift that I think it's underrated would be, how I mentioned earlier, how you can get women stuff like body care products. Maybe I didn't mention it, but it's something that I was thinking about. Like shampoos, conditioners, soap. Fathers could use that too. Men could use that too. They have to shower just like we do. But for some reason, we tend to not think about getting them that for whatever reason. Probably because it's considered an effeminate gesture. And I'm like, no, hygiene is something that everybody does and everybody should do. I wish I had more to say, but I don't. Just like my graduation, I just don't, because it's not something that I was heavily invested into. And on this particularly, I haven't had the experience. I haven't had like a male present in my life for me to be able to observe and have an idea of what to get them. For younger folks, of course, if this were a what to get guys type of holiday and not just fathers, you could be like, oh yeah, video games. But some fathers, of course, especially younger ones, they could be into video games. But at the same time, I would hope that they're not too invested into video games if you have the responsibility of bringing up children. I also think that overall, getting something for a guy is just more difficult. For like a father, is more difficult because guys just don't tend to put a lot of emotion into something that you give them or get them or tell them. That's why I needed to reach out to my boyfriend as well, because I even asked him, if you were a father, what would you like to get? In the event that you have nothing, skip that question. And he skipped it. I'm not saying that he represents the entire male population. It's just that I sensed that's what it is. And in this case, it turned out to be true. And it's also not something that he's thinking about. So what if fathers on Father's Day, that is something that they're not thinking about? I know that finding a lady not thinking about Mother's Day is technically impossible because everybody just has their expectations, There's also that movement of the females who are trying to get rid of Father's Day, and I'm like, you people are crazy. If they get rid of Father's Day, they have to get rid of Mother's Day too. Because think about it. This is just an enormous commercial movement. It's business. So, but of course, they're not going to do that. They're not going to get rid of these holidays because that's where the revenue comes from. June is completely dead There's nothing happening in June except Father's Day. Graduations here and there, they could boost the restaurant business, and maybe, I guess, a few cars would sell with those promotions that they have going on. But July, of course, we have the 4th of July. August, what happens in August besides my birthday? These people who are calling for the banning of Father's Day. Like, for me, I ain't got a daddy. I have a lot of reasons to resent Father's Day if I take it too literal, but I'm not going to. Just because I was miserable doesn't mean that somebody else also has to be miserable when they can be having a blast relationship with their fathers. That's really all that I have to say for now. I'm going to break this up a little bit because I feel an impulse to go over other stuff, but I don't want to get sidetracked from the holiday point of view of this topic, of this video. What do you guys do? Did you have the fortune of growing up with a good father? Do you have a good male figure person in your life? For me, I have had them come and go. I haven't had one solid one that lasts because, of course, it's really hard to just come across someone who is like, oh yeah, I'll be your kid's daddy when they're not my own. And then, of course, once say if it was a guy who was dating my mom, once that relationship is over, it would be weird to still be in contact with the woman's children. If I were a woman with a guy who already has his kids, I'm like, I'm not interested in raising the children of another woman. That's why I refuse to date anybody who has kids already. I just don't see myself tolerating that, because I don't think it's fair that I've been taking care of myself, not having kids, waiting for, say, the right guy or the right circumstances for me to end up attached with someone who already has a commitment to someone else through children. I can battle against another woman, which I'll never do. Against a child, I'll lose. There is no fighting a child. But anyways, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed whatever it is that I have to say. I know this is not a happy video, but I want to get rid of all of the topics that are like this, not very happy, so that I can start focusing on the topics that I really care about. Because I feel like if I have this somewhere in my mind, it interferes with my ability to produce the content going over the stuff that I mean to go over. So in a sense, putting this out there helps me get over it. You want to look at it that way. All right, you guys, as always, thank you so much for tuning in, and do not hesitate to let me know what your Father's Day celebrations are like, or if you're the one giving to a father. All right, see you soon.